She had been planning her escape for 3 years in silence. But the hardest part wasn't leaving. It was finding the courage to finally say those 2 words. It's time. Maya had been living 2 lives for almost 3 years now. Every single morning she would open her eyes to the same ceiling, hear the same sounds of her neighborhood waking up, and feel that same heavy weight in her chest. But she would push it down way down deep and get up anyway. She'd walk into the kitchen, put the kettle on, and start making breakfast. Her daughter Raya, 17 years old and full of teenage energy, would stumble in asking about her school project. Her son Arjun, just 15, would grab toast while scrolling through his phone. And her husband Tom would rush through, grabbing his coffee and heading out the door with barely a word. To anyone looking from the outside, they seemed like a perfectly normal family. But Maya knew the truth. She had been keeping a secret that was eating her up inside day after day. The thing is, her marriage hadn't fallen apart overnight. It wasn't like in the movies where there's some big dramatic moment. No, it happened so slowly that she almost didn't notice it at first. It was like watching a plant die when you forget to water it. You don't see it happening day by day, but one morning you wake up and realize it's completely withered. Tom wasn't a bad person. That's what made it so hard. He never yelled or did anything terrible. But somewhere along the way he had just checked out. He was physically there, but emotionally, he might as well have been living on another planet. It started small. He'd come home from work and go straight to his laptop. When Maya would try to talk to him about her day, he'd give these one-word answers while staring at his screen. Yeah. Sure. It was like talking to a wall that occasionally nodded. At first, Maya made excuses. He's stressed at work. He's tired. He'll snap out of it. She tried to be understanding, patient, supportive. She suggested they go out for dinner, just the 2 of them. He'd say yes, but then cancel at the last minute because something came up at the office. Every single time. She remembered the exact moment when something inside her shifted. It was their anniversary, their 18th. She had made reservations at the restaurant where they had their first date. She even bought a new dress. The kids were staying at their friends' houses. Everything was planned. Tom came home at 10:30 that night. He had forgotten. Completely forgotten. And when she stood there in that new dress with tears in her eyes, all he said was, "Oh man, I'm sorry. Work was crazy today. Can we do it this weekend?" They never did it that weekend. Or any weekend after. That night, lying in bed while Tom snored beside her, Maya realized something that terrified her. She wasn't sad anymore. She wasn't even angry. She just felt nothing. Complete and total emptiness. And that's when she knew she couldn't keep pretending. But leaving wasn't simple. She had 2 kids to think about. She hadn't worked full-time in years. Where would she even go? The questions swirled in her head night after night, keeping her awake while everyone else slept. So Maya did what she had to do. She started planning in secret. First, she went back to work full-time. She told Tom it was because she was bored at home, which wasn't entirely a lie. She found a job at a local company doing administrative work. The pay wasn't great, but it was something. More importantly, it was hers. Then she opened a bank account that only she knew about. Every paycheck, she would transfer a little bit of money into that account. Not so much that Tom would notice, but enough that it started to add up. $20 here, $50 there. Some months she could manage $100. During her lunch breaks, Maya would sit in her car and research things on her phone. She looked up apartment listings, calculated how much she would need for a security deposit, figured out what the kids' expenses would be. She made spreadsheets and budgets. She planned every single detail. The hardest part was seeing a lawyer. Maya had to take a day off work and drive 2 towns over, terrified that someone she knew would see her walking into that office. Her hands shook as she filled out the paperwork. The lawyer, an older woman with kind eyes, explained the process to her. How long it would take, what documents she'd need, how custody would work. Walking out of that office, Maya felt like she was carrying an even bigger secret than before. Now it wasn't just a feeling or a thought. Now there were actual papers, real plans, legal documents sitting in a folder in her car. She hid that folder at the bottom of her closet, behind old photo albums that no one ever looked at anymore. For 3 years, Maya lived like this, smiling at school events, chatting with other parents, cooking dinner every night, helping with homework, all while knowing that one day everything was going to change. The guilt was overwhelming sometimes. Was she being selfish? Should she try harder? Maybe things would get better if she just waited a bit longer. These thoughts would circle in her mind, especially late at night, but then she'd remember the empty feeling. The loneliness of lying next to someone and feeling completely alone. The way her heart would sink every time she tried to have a real conversation with Tom and got shut down. The realization that her kids were growing up watching a marriage with no love in it, and thinking that was normal. Maya knew that the hardest conversation was still ahead of her. She had to tell her kids, but when? How do you tell your children that their family is about to break apart? How do you explain that sometimes love fades even when nobody did anything wrong? She decided to wait until Ria was finishing high school. The girl had big dreams, college applications coming up, and her whole future ahead of her. Maya didn't want to disrupt that. Arjun was still young, but he was getting older, more mature. Maybe by the time Ria graduated, both kids would be ready to understand. So Maya kept waiting, kept planning, kept saving, kept holding her breath. She tried one last time to fix things with Tom. She suggested marriage counseling. He said they didn't need it, that every couple goes through rough patches. She asked him to take a weekend away with her. He said he couldn't take time off work. She told him she felt lonely in their marriage. He looked confused and said, "But we're together every day." That's when Maya truly understood. Tom didn't see the problem. He was comfortable with how things were. He had a clean house, home-cooked meals, someone to handle the kids and the bills and all the emotional labor. As far as he was concerned, everything was fine. But Maya wasn't fine. She hadn't been fine for years. The day finally came when Maya knew it was time. Ria had just received her college acceptance letters. Arjun was doing well in school, had good friends, seemed stable. Maya had saved enough money for a small apartment. She had a steady job. Everything was as ready as it would ever be. It was a Sunday morning in autumn. The leaves outside were turning golden and red, falling gently to the ground. Maya stood at the bedroom window watching them fall and felt like those leaves. It was time to let go and see where she would land. She had rehearsed what she would say 1,000 times in her head. But now, with the moment finally here, every word felt inadequate. How do you summarize years of pain in a single conversation? How do you break someone's heart while explaining that staying would break yours? Maya took a deep breath, then another. She could hear the kids downstairs, probably watching TV or on their phones. Tom was out running errands. Today was the day. No more waiting. No more pretending. Today she would start the hardest conversation of her life. But first she had to gather every ounce of courage she possessed. The following Sunday afternoon felt different. Maya could sense it in the air, like the calm before a storm. She had asked both Ria and Arjun to sit down in the living room after lunch. Tom was out playing golf with his friends like he did every Sunday. At least that made things easier for now. Ria walked in first, her phone in hand, looking slightly annoyed. "Mom, what's up?" "I was in the middle of texting Priya about our chemistry project." Arjun followed, looking suspicious. "Are we in trouble or something?" Maya's heart was racing so fast she thought it might burst out of her chest. She had practiced this moment in front of the bathroom mirror dozens of times. She had written down what she wanted to say on little note cards that were now hidden in her pocket. But now, sitting here with her 2 children looking at her with curious faces, all those practiced words vanished from her mind. "No, you're not in trouble," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I just need to talk to you both about something important." The mood in the room shifted immediately. Ria put her phone down. Arjun sat up straighter. They both knew that tone. It was the same tone Maya had used when she told them their grandmother had passed away 2 years ago. Maya looked at their faces and felt her heart breaking already. These were her babies. Ria, with her father's dark eyes and her grandmother's smile. Arjun, who still had a sprinkle of freckles across his nose from last summer. How was she supposed to hurt them like this? But staying silent would hurt them more in the long run. She knew that. She had to believe that. "Your dad and I," Maya started, then stopped. Her throat felt tight. She cleared it and tried again. "Your dad and I have been having some problems. For a long time now." "We know," Ria said quietly. "We're not blind, Mom." That caught Maya off guard. "You know?" Arjun nodded slowly. "You guys barely talk to each other. Dad's always working or out with his friends. You're always just doing stuff around the house. It's been like that forever." Maya felt tears forming in her eyes. Her kids had noticed. Of course they had noticed. She had been so focused on hiding her pain that she hadn't realized her children were watching the whole time. "Then you understand why I need to tell you this," Maya said, her voice cracking. "Your father and I are getting a divorce." The words hung in the air like smoke. Heavy, suffocating, real. Ria's eyes immediately filled with tears. "What? No, Mom, you can't. You can't just give up." "I'm not giving up, sweetheart. I promise you, I'm not giving up. I've tried everything. I've tried talking to your dad. I suggested counseling. I've waited and hoped things would get better. But sometimes, no matter how hard you try, things just don't work out. So that's it?" Ria's voice was rising now, angry and scared at the same time. "You're just going to break up our family." Arjun was silent, staring at his hands. He hadn't said a word since Maya dropped the news. "I know this is hard," Maya said, reaching out to touch Ria's hand, but her daughter pulled away. "I know you're upset." "You have every right to be upset. But staying together when we're not happy isn't good for anyone. Not for me, not for your dad, and especially not for you two." "How is this better for us?" Ria shot back. "How is having divorced parents better than having parents who just don't talk much? At least we're all together." Maya had expected this. She had prepared for anger, for accusations, for tears, but hearing it come from her daughter's mouth still felt like a knife to the chest. "Being together isn't the same as being happy," Maya said gently. "I don't want you to grow up thinking that a marriage should feel like what your dad and I have. That's not love. That's just two people living in the same house." "Does Dad know?" Arjun finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Not yet," Maya admitted. "I wanted to talk to you both first. You're the most important people in my life. You deserve to hear this from me before anyone else." "When?" Arjun asked, still not looking up. "I'm going to tell him tonight when he gets home." Ria stood up abruptly. "I can't believe this. I can't believe you've been planning this behind our backs. How long have you known? How long have you been keeping this secret?" Here it was, the part Maya had been dreading the most. "A while," she said quietly. "How long is a while, Mom?" Ria's voice was sharp now. "About 3 years." The shock on both their faces made Maya want to disappear. She watched as betrayal replaced confusion in their eyes. 3 years? Ria repeated, her voice breaking. "You've known for 3 years and you didn't tell us? You've been lying to us this whole time?" "I wasn't lying, I was waiting for the right time. I wanted you to be old enough to understand. I didn't want to disrupt your lives when you were younger. So you just decided to drop this bomb on us now? Right when I'm supposed to be focusing on college?" Ria was crying now, angry tears streaming down her face. "I thought you'd be more mature, more able to handle it." "Handle it?" Ria laughed bitterly. "How are we supposed to handle our mom telling us she's been planning to blow up our family for 3 years? Arjun still hadn't moved. He was so still that Maya worried he had gone into shock. "Arjun, baby, please say something," Maya pleaded. He looked up at her finally, and the look in his eyes broke her heart all over again. "Is this our fault?" "What, no? God, no, Arjun. This has nothing to do with you or your sister. This is between me and your dad. You two are the best things that ever happened to me. Then why are you leaving?" His voice cracked on the last word. "I'm not leaving you. I will never leave you. I'm leaving a marriage that doesn't work anymore. But I will always, always be your mom. That will never change." "Where are you going to live?" he asked. "I found a small apartment across town. It has 2 bedrooms, so you both can stay with me whenever you want." "So we have to choose?" Ria said. "We have to pick between you and Dad?" "No, sweetheart. You don't have to choose. Your dad and I will work out a schedule where you can spend time with both of us. This isn't about choosing sides." "Everything is about choosing sides in a divorce," Ria said bitterly. "My friend Mira's parents got divorced last year and it was a nightmare. Everyone asking which parent she likes better, which house she wants to stay at more." Maya's heart sank. She hadn't thought about how Ria's friends' experiences might color her view of this. "I'm sorry you had to watch Mira go through that. But your dad and I are going to do this differently. We're going to be adults about this. We're going to put you two first." "Does Dad even want this?" Arjun asked suddenly. Maya paused. That was a complicated question. "Your dad doesn't know yet, but I think when he really thinks about it, he'll realize that we're both unhappy. We've just been going through the motions for so long that it started to feel normal." The 3 of them sat in silence for a moment. Maya could hear the clock ticking on the wall, the sound of a car passing outside, a dog barking somewhere in the distance. Normal sounds from a day that was anything but normal. Can we ask you something, Mom? Ria said finally, her voice softer now but still hurt. Anything. Is there someone else? Is that why you're doing this? No, absolutely not. There's no one else. This is about me realizing that I can't keep living a lie. I can't keep pretending to be happy when I'm not. Are you going to be happy after this? Arjun asked, and something in the way he said it made Maya think he genuinely wanted to know. Not just asking to be difficult. Maya thought about it carefully. I don't know if I'll be happy right away. This is going to be hard for all of us. But I think eventually, yes. I think I'll be more honest, more myself. And I hope that in time you'll see that this was the right decision. Ria wiped her eyes. I need to go to my room. I can't do this right now. Ria, please. No, Mom, I just need some space, okay? Maya nodded, watching her daughter walk out of the room. Then she turned to Arjun, who was still sitting there processing everything. You okay, buddy? She asked softly. He shrugged. I don't know what I am. Can I ask you something? Of course. Did you ever love Dad? The question hit Maya hard. Yes, I loved him very much once. We just grew into different people. Sometimes that happens and it's nobody's fault. Arjun nodded slowly, then stood up. I think I need to be alone too. Maya sat by herself in the living room after both kids left. The conversation had gone about as well as she expected, which meant it was absolutely terrible. But it was done. The words were out there. There was no taking them back now. Tonight she would have the same conversation with Tom. And then tomorrow everything would begin to change. 2 weeks had passed since Maya told the kids. 2 weeks since that awful conversation with Tom that went exactly as she expected. He was shocked at first, then angry, then quiet. Really quiet. The kind of quiet that felt heavier than yelling. But here's what surprised Maya. After the initial shock wore off, Tom didn't fight her on it. He didn't beg her to stay or promise to change. He just asked practical questions. When was she moving out? How would they split the bills? What about the kids? It was almost like he was relieved. Like he had been stuck in the same unhappy place but didn't have the courage to say it out loud. That realization stung more than Maya expected. Now Maya stood in front of a small apartment building on the other side of town. The building was old but well-maintained, with a little garden out front that someone clearly cared about. She held the keys in her hand, feeling their weight. These keys represented everything she had been working toward for 3 years. The apartment was on the 2nd floor. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a small kitchen, and a living room that got great afternoon sunlight. It wasn't much compared to the house she was leaving behind. No backyard, no garage, no extra space for storage, but it was hers. Completely and totally hers. Maya unlocked the door and stepped inside. The apartment was empty except for the echo of her footsteps on the hardwood floors. Empty walls, empty rooms, empty of everything except possibility. She walked through each room slowly, imagining how she would fill the space. The smaller bedroom would be for when Ria and Arjun stayed over. She'd need to get a bunk bed or maybe 2 twin beds. The living room would need a couch, maybe a small TV. The kitchen already had a refrigerator and stove, so that was good. Maya sat down on the floor of what would be her bedroom. She leaned against the wall and let out a long breath she didn't know she was holding. This was really happening. She was really doing this. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ria. Mom, I'm coming over to help you move. Be there in 20 minutes. Maya stared at the message, feeling tears prick her eyes. After that terrible conversation 2 weeks ago, Ria had barely spoken to her. She stayed in her room most of the time, only coming out for meals in school. Maya had given her space, understanding that her daughter needed time to process everything. But now Ria was coming to help. That had to mean something. 20 minutes later, Maya heard footsteps coming up the stairs. Ria appeared in the doorway holding 2 coffees from the cafe down the street. Hey, Ria said quietly, handing one to Maya. Hey, sweetheart. Thanks for coming. They stood there for a moment, not quite knowing what to say. Then Ria looked around the empty apartment. It's smaller than I thought it would be. Yeah, it's not much, but it's affordable and it's close to your school. Ria nodded, walking through the rooms. Maya followed her, watching her daughter take everything in. When they got to the bedroom that would be for the kids, Ria stopped. This would be our room? Yes. I was thinking we could paint it whatever color you and Arjun want. Make it feel like yours. Ria was quiet for a moment. Arjun won't come here. You know that, right? Maya's heart sank. He's still not talking to me? He talks. Just not about you or the divorce. He stays in his room a lot, plays video games with his friends online. Dad doesn't know what to do with him either. I was hoping he'd come around. He will, eventually. He's just hurt. We both are. Rhea turned to look at her mother. But I get it now. I mean, I'm still mad, but I get it. What changed? Maya asked softly. Rhea shrugged. I've been watching you and Dad these past 2 weeks. Really watching. And you're right. You guys don't act like you're married. You act like roommates who don't particularly like each other. I don't know how I didn't see it before. You were living in it. Sometimes it's hard to see things when you're right in the middle of them. Dad seems different too, Rhea said. Not sad exactly, just different. Last night he actually sat down and watched a movie with us. He never does that. He's always on his laptop or his phone. But last night he just sat there and watched the whole thing. Maya felt a complicated mix of emotions hearing that. Relief that Tom was trying with the kids, but also a strange sadness that it took their marriage ending for him to be present. I'm glad he's spending time with you guys. Mom, can I ask you something? Always. Are you scared? The question caught Maya off guard. She thought about lying, about being the strong mom who has it all figured out. But Rhea deserved honesty. Terrified, Maya admitted. I'm scared all the time. Scared I made the wrong choice. Scared I'm going to mess you kids up. Scared of being alone. Scared of so many things. Then why are you doing it? Because staying scared me even more. Staying meant watching my life pass by while I pretended to be happy. And I don't want that for myself. More importantly, I don't want you and Arjun to think that's what a relationship should look like. Rhea considered this. My friend Mira, the one whose parents got divorced, she told me something last week. She said the first few months were awful, but now things are actually better. Her parents don't fight anymore. They're nicer to each other, and she gets to see them both actually being happy instead of miserable together. That must have been hard for her, though. It was. But she said she'd rather have 2 happy parents in separate houses than 2 miserable parents in the same house. They stood there in the empty room, mother and daughter, both trying to figure out this new version of their lives. So, Rhea said, breaking the silence, what do we need to do first? First, we need to unpack the boxes that are coming this afternoon. The moving truck should be here soon with my stuff from the house. You already took your stuff? Just my clothes, some kitchen things, and my personal items. Nothing that belonged to your dad or that you kids use. The house still has everything in it for you and Arjun. Rhea nodded. Then she pulled out her phone. I'm texting Priya to come help. She's good at organizing stuff. And her mom went through a divorce 2 years ago, so she gets it. You told Priya? I tell Priya everything. She's my best friend. Rhea looked up from her phone. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. You can tell whoever you need to tell. This isn't a secret. The afternoon became a blur of activity. The moving truck arrived with Maya's belongings. Priya showed up with her older brother who helped carry the heavy furniture. They assembled a bed frame, unpacked boxes of dishes, hung curtains that Maya had bought on sale last week. Rhea took charge of organizing the kitchen, deciding where everything should go. Maya watched her daughter move through the small space, putting glasses in one cabinet, plates in another, creating order out of chaos. When had Rhea gotten so grown up? By evening, the apartment was starting to look like a home. The furniture was in place. Pictures were hung on the walls. The kitchen was functional. The bedrooms had beds and dressers. Maya ordered pizza for everyone who helped. They sat on the floor of the living room, eating straight from the box because Maya hadn't unpacked the plates yet, even though Rhea had just organized them. This is actually pretty nice, Priya said, looking around. It's cozy. It's small, Rhea corrected. Small is cozy, Priya insisted. After everyone left, it was just Maya and Rhea. They had finished cleaning up the pizza boxes and were standing in the doorway, about to say goodbye. You did good today, Mom, Rhea said. I couldn't have done it without you, sweetheart. Will you be okay here by yourself tonight? Maya looked around at her new home. Her new life. Yeah, I think I will be. Rhea hugged her and Maya held on maybe a little too tight. When they pulled apart, both of them had tears in their eyes. Text me when you get home, okay? I will. Love you, Mom. Love you too, baby. After Rhea left, Maya walked through her apartment one more time. She stopped at the front door, her hand resting on the doorknob. This was it, the moment she had been building toward for 3 years. She opened the door and stepped out onto the small balcony that overlooked the street. The evening air was cool and fresh. She could hear the sounds of the neighborhood settling in for the night. Somewhere a dog was barking. Kids were playing in a yard nearby. Cars were pulling into driveways. Normal sounds. Normal life. But nothing about this moment felt normal to Maya. She took a deep breath, filling her lungs completely. Then she spoke out loud to no one and everyone at the same time. It's time. Time to start over. Time to figure out who she was outside of being a wife. Time to be honest instead of hiding. Time to show her kids what it looked like when someone chose themselves, even when it was the hardest choice in the world. Maya stood there for a long time, just breathing and being present. When she finally went back inside and closed the door behind her, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. It was small and fragile, barely there, but it was real. And for now, that was enough. 6 months had passed since Maya moved into her apartment. 6 months of figuring out how to be alone, how to be herself, how to rebuild a life from scratch. The first few months were brutal. Maya wasn't going to sugarcoat it. There were nights when the silence in her apartment felt so loud it hurt. Nights when she'd reach for her phone to call someone, anyone, just to hear another voice. Nights when she questioned every single decision that led her to this point. The weekends were the hardest. When Ria and Arjun were with Tom, the apartment felt too empty. Maya would walk from room to room not knowing what to do with herself. She had spent so many years taking care of everyone else that she forgot how to just be. One particularly bad Saturday night, about 2 months in, Maya found herself sitting on her couch at 9 p.m. with nothing to do. The TV was on, but she wasn't watching it. She had scrolled through her phone so many times she had seen every post twice. She felt restless and lonely and completely lost. That's when she noticed a flyer that had been stuck to her door earlier that week. A community center nearby was offering evening classes: pottery, painting, yoga, cooking, photography. Maya stared at the flyer for a long time. Pottery. She remembered loving art class in high school, back before life got complicated. Back when she was just Maya, not somebody's wife or somebody's mom. Just Maya. The next Wednesday evening, she found herself walking into a pottery class feeling absolutely ridiculous. Everyone else seemed to know what they were doing. They were chatting with each other, laughing, setting up their workstations like they belonged there. Maya almost turned around and left. But then the instructor, a woman in her 60s with clay-stained hands and a warm smile, came over. "First time?" she asked. Maya nodded. "Perfect. I'm Linda. Don't worry, everyone feels awkward on their first day. By next week, you'll feel like you've been doing this forever." Linda was right. The clay felt strange at first, cold and wet and stubborn. Maya's first bowl looked more like a sad pancake than anything useful. But there was something calming about it. Something about working with her hands, focusing on shaping something, creating something from nothing. She kept going back. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m., Maya would show up to pottery class. Her bowls got better. She tried making mugs, vases, little decorative dishes. Some turned out okay. Most didn't. But that wasn't the point. The point was that for 2 hours every Wednesday, Maya was just a person making pottery. Not a divorced woman, not a mom dealing with complicated custody arrangements, just someone learning something new. She started talking to the other people in class. There was Helen, a retired teacher who had always wanted to try pottery, and Robert, a guy around Maya's age who was taking the class because his therapist told him he needed a hobby, and young Zara, a college student who made beautiful pieces that she sold online. They became friends, actual friends. People who knew Maya as just Maya, not as part of a couple or defined by her past. Around the same time, Maya reconnected with her old friend Kavita. They had been close in college but had drifted apart over the years. Life got busy. Kids came along. Somehow 15 years had passed. Kavita reached out after hearing about the divorce through mutual friends. She sent a simple text. "Hey, heard you're going through some stuff. Want to grab coffee?" They met at a small cafe on a Sunday afternoon. Maya wasn't sure what to expect. Would it be awkward? Would they have anything to talk about after all these years? But the moment they sat down, it felt like no time had passed at all. They talked for 3 hours straight. About everything. About the divorce, about Kavita's job stress, about their kids, about getting older, about dreams they used to have. "You know what I miss most?" Kavita said. "I miss staying up until 2 a.m. talking about absolutely nothing important. Remember when we used to do that in college?" Maya laughed. We thought we were so deep discussing the meaning of life over cheap instant noodles. We were deep. We just didn't know that life would get so complicated that those simple conversations would feel like a luxury. They started meeting regularly. Coffee dates turned into dinner plans. Sometimes they'd just drive around listening to music like they used to do in college. Kavita reminded Maya of who she used to be before she got lost in being a wife and mother. Maya also started running in the mornings. She had never been athletic. Had always found excuses not to exercise. Too busy, too tired, too many things to do. But one morning, unable to sleep, she put on an old pair of sneakers and just walked out the door. She started walking, then jogging slowly, then running. Her lungs burned. Her legs hurt. She probably looked ridiculous, but something about running made her feel free, like she was physically moving away from her old life and towards something new. She kept at it. Every morning before work, Maya would run. At first, it was just 10 minutes, then 15, then 20. Eventually, she could run for 30 minutes without stopping. Running became her thinking time, her processing time, where she worked through all the complicated feelings that came with rebuilding her life. The kids were adjusting in their own ways, too. Ria spent more time at Maya's apartment than expected. She'd come over to do homework, to talk about college applications, or sometimes just to hang out. Their relationship had shifted. It felt more honest now. Less like mother and daughter performing their roles. More like two people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company. Arjun was still struggling. He spent most of his time at Tom's house, only coming to Maya's apartment when the custody schedule required it. When he was there, he was quiet, polite but distant. Maya tried not to push him. She'd leave snacks he liked on the counter. She'd ask about school without being pushy. She'd tell him about her pottery class, showing him the wonky bowl she'd made. Sometimes he'd smile a little, but mostly he kept to himself. One evening, about 5 months after the move, Arjun was staying over. Maya was making dinner when she heard video game sounds coming from his room. He was on voice chat with his friends, and she could hear him laughing. It was the first time she'd heard him really laugh in months. Maya stood outside his door for a moment, just listening to her son sound like himself again. It gave her hope. Later that night, Arjun came into the kitchen while Maya was washing dishes. "Mom?" "Yeah, buddy? That pottery thing you do. Is it fun?" Maya turned to look at him, surprised. "Yeah, it is." "Why?" He shrugged. "Just wondering. My friend's older brother does woodworking. Says it helps him not stress about stuff. Are you stressed about stuff?" Arjun was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes. School's hard this year, and everything with you and Dad is still weird." Maya dried her hands and sat down at the kitchen table. Arjun joined her. "I know it's weird. I know this isn't what you wanted." "It's not your fault," Arjun said quietly. "I was mad at you for a while. But Dad seems happier now, too. He's around more. He actually talks to me. So maybe you were right." Those words meant more to Maya than Arjun could possibly know. "That means a lot, hearing you say that." "I'm still not happy about it," Arjun added quickly. "But I get it. Kind of. That's all I can ask for." They sat there for a bit, not saying anything. Then Arjun got up to go back to his room. "Hey, Mom?" "Yeah? Your pottery stuff is pretty cool. Even the ugly bowl," Maya laughed. "Thanks, I think." After he left, Maya sat at the table for a long time. She thought about how far she'd come in 6 months. How she'd gone from being terrified and lost to finding small pieces of herself again. She wasn't the same person she was before the divorce. She would never be that person again. But she was becoming someone new. Someone who took pottery classes and went running and had coffee dates with old friends. Someone who was learning that being alone didn't have to mean being lonely. There were still hard days. Days when she missed having someone to share the little moments with. Days when dealing with lawyers and custody schedules and finances felt overwhelming. Days when she wondered if she'd ever find love again or if she even wanted to. But there were also good days. Days when she'd make a pottery piece that actually looked like what it was supposed to be. Days when Ria would show up unannounced just to hang out. Days when Arjun would crack a joke at dinner. Days when she'd finish a run and feel absolutely alive. Maya was learning something important. Happiness wasn't some destination you arrived at. It wasn't something that happened all at once. It was built slowly, piece by piece, day by day, like pottery. You shape it with your hands, you mess up sometimes, you start over, and eventually, you create something that's uniquely yours. 6 months ago, Maya had been terrified of being alone. Now she was learning to enjoy her own company. She was rediscovering who she was when she wasn't performing for anyone else. And that version of herself? She was actually pretty interesting. 1 year after moving into her apartment, Maya got a phone call that would change everything again. It was her boss, Mr. Chen, calling on a Tuesday afternoon. Maya's heart jumped into her throat. Calls from the boss in the middle of the day were never good news. She was probably getting fired. The divorce had made her distracted at work sometimes. Maybe they noticed. Maybe this was it. "Maya, do you have a minute to talk?" Mr. Chen asked. "Of course," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I wanted to discuss something with you. We're opening a new regional office 3 states over. It's a big project, and we need someone strong to manage the operations there. I immediately thought of you." Maya was confused. "You want me to transfer?" "Not exactly. This would be a promotion. A significant one. Regional operations manager. Better pay, better title, more responsibility. But yes, it would require relocating." Maya sat down. A promotion. A real promotion. She'd been doing administrative work for years, always reliable but never really advancing. And now this. "I know this is sudden," Mr. Chen continued. "And I know you have kids, so relocation isn't simple. Take some time to think about it. But I wanted you to know that you've impressed me this past year. The way you've handled everything while still showing up and doing excellent work. That takes strength." After the call ended, Maya sat in her car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, just processing. A year ago, she wouldn't have even considered this. She would have immediately said no without thinking. The kids needed stability. Tom would never agree. It was too risky, but now she actually wanted to think about it. That evening, she sat Ria and Arjun down. Ria was getting ready to leave for college in 3 months. She'd gotten into a good school about 5 hours away and was excited about starting that new chapter. Arjun would be starting his junior year of high school. "I need to tell you guys something," Maya started. "I got offered a job. A really good job. But it's in another state." Ria looked up from her phone. "Another state?" "Like far away. About 6 hours from here. It's a big promotion. More money, better position, but it would mean moving again." "What about us?" Arjun asked quietly. This was the question Maya had been wrestling with all afternoon. "Well, Ria, you're going to college anyway. You'd be about the same distance from the new city as you would be from here. And Arjun, you could stay with your dad during the school year and visit me during breaks and holidays, or we could figure out something else. I don't know yet. That's why I wanted to talk to you both first." "You should take it," Ria said immediately. Maya was surprised. "Really? Mom, when's the last time someone offered you something this good? When's the last time you put yourself first?" But Arjun just started getting comfortable with the situation here. "I'll be okay," Arjun interrupted. "I mean, yeah, it's weird. But Dad and I are doing good. He comes to my soccer games now. We have dinner together. And you're right, I can visit on breaks." Maya looked at her son, this kid who had grown up so much in the past year. "Are you sure? I don't want you to feel like I'm abandoning you." "You're not abandoning me. You're showing me that it's okay to go after what you want. That's different." Where had this wisdom come from? When did her 15-year-old son become so mature? "Besides," Arjun added with a small smile, "maybe Dad will finally learn how to cook something other than spaghetti if you're not around." They all laughed at that. It was true. Tom's cooking skills were legendary in the worst way possible. Over the next few weeks, Maya thought about the offer constantly. She talked to Kavita, who told her she'd be crazy not to take it. She talked to Linda from pottery class, who said that opportunities like this don't come around often. She even talked to Tom, who surprisingly supported the decision. "You should go," Tom said during one of their awkward co-parenting phone calls. "Arjun will be fine here with me. And honestly, Maya, you deserve this. You've been stuck in the same position for years because you were always putting everyone else first." Hearing Tom say that felt strange. It was maybe the most honest conversation they'd had in years. "Thank you," Maya said, "for understanding. I haven't been a great husband," Tom said quietly, "but I can try to be a better co-parent. Let me do this part right." Maya accepted the job. The next 3 months were a whirlwind. Ria graduated from high school. Maya helped her pack for college, both of them crying while folding clothes and organizing boxes. They had become so close this past year, and now they were both starting new chapters. I'm proud of you, Mom, Ria said the day before she left for college. They were sitting in Maya's apartment, surrounded by half-packed boxes. I'm proud of you too, baby. You're going to do amazing things. I mean it, though. You're brave. I used to think staying together was the brave thing, but leaving, starting over, taking this new job, that's real courage. Maya hugged her daughter tight, wishing she could freeze this moment forever. Arjun helped Maya pack up the apartment. They worked together, wrapping dishes in newspaper, taking pictures off walls, boxing up books. It was quieter than when she'd moved in with Ria's help, but peaceful in its own way. You know, Arjun said while taping up a box, I was really mad at you for a long time. I know you were. But watching you this year, doing your pottery thing, making friends, running in the mornings, and now taking this job, I don't know. It made me think about what I want my life to be like when I'm older. What do you mean? I want to be like you. Someone who's not afraid to change things when they're not working. Someone who goes after what they want even when it's scary. Maya had to turn away to wipe her eyes. This kid who had barely spoken to her 6 months ago was now telling her she inspired him. On the day of the move, Maya stood in her empty apartment one last time. This small space had been her home for a year. The place where she learned to be alone, where she figured out who she was outside of being someone's wife. She walked to the front door and stood there, her hand on the doorknob. She thought about that first night a year ago when she'd opened this door, taken a deep breath and said, "It's time." Back then, she had been terrified. She didn't know if she'd make it. Didn't know if leaving was the right choice. Didn't know if she was strong enough. Now she knew the answer. She was strong enough. She had always been strong enough. Maya opened the door and stepped out, closing it behind her for the last time. She walked down the stairs, got in her car, and started the drive to her new life. 6 hours away was a fresh start. A new city, a new job, new challenges, new possibilities. And this time Maya wasn't running from something. She was running toward something. The first few months in the new city were an adjustment. Maya had to learn new streets, find new grocery stores, figure out where everything was. The job was challenging in the best way possible. She had a team to manage, decisions to make, actual responsibility and authority. She found a new apartment, bigger than the last one, with a balcony that overlooked a park. She joined a gym and kept up with her morning runs. She found a pottery studio and continued making her wonky bowls and lopsided mugs. Ria came to visit during fall break. They explored the new city together, trying new restaurants, visiting museums, just spending time together. Ria loved Maya's new apartment and spent most of the visit sprawled on the couch doing homework while Maya cooked dinner. "This place feels like you," Ria said one evening. "Like really you. Not trying to please everyone else, you. Just you." Arjun visited for Thanksgiving. He was quieter about his feelings than Ria, but Maya could tell he was proud of her. He asked questions about her job, about the city, about the pottery studio she'd found. He even tried making a bowl in one of her classes, though it collapsed into a blob halfway through. They laughed until their stomachs hurt. 5 years later, Maya would be standing in a house she bought with her own money. Not an apartment, but an actual house with a yard and a garage and space for a proper pottery studio in the basement. Ria would be graduating college with honors. She'd have a job lined up at a company she was excited about. She'd be in a healthy relationship with someone who respected her, and Maya liked to think that watching her mom choose happiness over comfort had shown Ria what to look for in a partner. Arjun would be thriving in his senior year of high school. He'd be applying to colleges, playing soccer, and occasionally calling Maya just to talk. Their relationship had healed completely, grown into something stronger than it was before. Tom would be remarried to someone named Patricia, a kind woman who was better suited for him than Maya ever was. Someone who liked quiet evenings at home, who didn't need deep conversations, who was happy with the life Tom wanted to live. Maya was genuinely happy for him, and Maya would be living a life she chose on purpose, not by default. She'd still be making pottery, though her bowls were much better now. She'd have friends, hobbies, a career she was proud of. She'd have learned that being alone wasn't the same as being lonely. Would everything be perfect? No. There would still be hard days. Days when she'd wonder about the path not taken. Days when single parenting from a distance felt impossible. Days when she'd wish things had worked out differently. But mostly there would be good days. Days when she'd wake up in her house and feel grateful. Days when her kids would call just to soak